We've got lots of 3D news to catch up on. Leia, Apple, Blu-ray, more. But first, after 5 years... Hi, and welcome to Variety Tech Today. In 144 episodes, we've reached 1,000 subscribers. Let's catch up on some things. First of all, the first color 3D movie, the first movie of the golden era of 3D, is finally coming to Blu-ray 3D. Now, there were other 3D films before this. There were 3D short films, Experiments, and Anaglyph. The two first 3D feature films were in 1922. The Power of Love, which was released in Anaglyph and is sadly lost, and also that year, The Man from Mars, which was released with an early form of shutter glasses, and you can get that on Blu-ray from my website, varietyfilms.net. But the golden era of 3D during the 50s, when passive polarized glasses, much like we use today, were the norm, kicked off in 1953 with Buona Devil. And this, of course, was the first color and sound 3D feature film. This is the first surviving 3D feature film because Man from Mars is only the 2D version remains. So this was converted to 3D along with extras for this Blu-ray. But Buona Devil is finally restored in its original format, 3D Film Archive, of course. So that's been available for pre-order for a little bit now, so if you haven't yet. Now some news about Apple with the Apple Vision Pro 3D headset. It's been being talked about. I don't have any numbers or anything to share, but it's been talked about that sales were not exactly what they had hoped for, perhaps. If that's the case, I'm not saying it is, but if that's the case, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising, of course. Not everybody is running out to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a headset, a heavy headset that some, including myself, find uncomfortable, that you can't share with anybody. That really, compared to other options like home theater, is low compatibility. But the one good thing about it is that it has exclusive access to not only some 3D movies that haven't been released elsewhere, but also higher quality versions, such as 4K 3D, high frame rate, high dynamic range. And for the record, neither availability nor higher quality are real reasons, because both of those in the real world could exist affordably on a home theater. In fact, my 4K 3D TV from almost a decade ago is capable of displaying half-width 4K 3D high frame rate content. So of course there's some artificial scarcity at play, if you want to call it that, but it is what it is. Anyway, the news is that Apple maybe, this is a rumor, may be considering a cheaper model of the Apple Vision Pro. And if that's the case, that would have naturally helped with adoption. I mean, I really do hope it succeeds. They're able to get a cheaper model out there. Not necessarily that I'd be a customer, but at least that it would keep their 3D movie library alive and out there. And hopefully somebody can rip it at some point, because unfortunately movies haven't been able to be copied yet. I'm sure somebody's working on it somewhere, but once that thing goes offline, say bye-bye to those exclusive movies. But anyway, in this effort to push this new 3D ecosystem, Apple is of course supporting spatial video recording on the iPhone, like you see right here. My iPhone 15, it uses two lenses. One is the normal lens, one is the ultra-wide lens, and it uses the ultra-wide to zoom in and crop to match the other ends to make a 3D video. The problem with that is, though, that the ultra-wide lens that is cropped ends up being much lower quality than the other eye. So one eye is capable of 4K, but the other eye doesn't even look HD. And besides the resolution loss, the main lens is capable of shallow depth of field, so you get in focus foreground or background, and the other lens just is flat focus, so you've got that confliction, and with closer, stronger shots, that discrepancy really shows up. So anyway, the iPhone 16 is supposed to be coming later this year, and one thing they're going to correct is the resolution of the ultra-wide lens, and I believe it's specifically for spatial video, because it's 12 megapixels right now, and it's going to be up to 48 megapixels. So we'll see how that improves the resolution matching of both, but we may still have that problem with the focus. The best solution, of course, would be to have two identical lenses, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. If they did that, it would be a game changer. And also of note is that the lower models of iPhone had only diagonal lenses. So obviously that's not suited for stereoscopic recording because your eye isn't down here. So with the iPhone 16, they're supposed to be only having parallel lenses so that even the lower models can also record spatial videos. And speaking of spatial videos, Vimeo has said they're going to be offering spatial video support. So I find this interesting. I'm wondering how they're going to work this in. Is it just going to be 2D on all other devices and then only available to playback spatial on Apple Vision Pro? If they're supporting spatial specifically, sadly that might be the case. What would be great is if they would bring back what YouTube used to have, a universal function where you can play back 3D videos, because that's all it is. It's not some proprietary thing. Even the codec they use is not from Apple. It's a next generation frame packed format that was intended for Blu-ray years ago but never used. So YouTube would be wise to one-up Vimeo on this. They don't have to answer to Apple or anything like that. Just reintegrate 3D like it used to. It's still enabled on YouTube, but it's buggy and has nowhere near as much support as it used to have. So they would be wise to reintegrate full compatibility now for use with this same Ultra HD 3D codec. And speaking of poor decisions in this regard, I got to bring up again Power Director. That's the video editing software I most often use. I use it for editing 3D. But now I can't use the current version. I have to use my older version because they discontinued 3D, and they couldn't have done it at a worse time. They did it in December 2023, right as Apple is in the process of bringing out Apple Vision Pro and iPhone 15 with spatial video. So you're having millions of people with a 3D camera in their pocket, an easy way to record 3D video, and right at that time Power Director thinks it's a great time to stop supporting it. So the bizarre thing is I can take my years old Cyberlink Power Director software, import my videos from my 2024 iPhone, and edit them in 3D, but I can't do it in the current version of Power Director. So again, they would be wise to reintegrate that, advertise it as spatial, however they want to brand it, but it can be output in any 3D format. But they would have been poised to corner the market on this new format that is now in so many people's pockets. And speaking of 3D phones, ZTE's released the Voyage 3D phone. This is a Chinese phone, and I didn't see any exact information on it, but I highly suspect it's using a Leia screen. But considering they made the Nubia pad for them, it's highly likely. Unfortunate thing is that there is no 3D camera, so that was a big missed opportunity because they could have had the first Android phone with a spatial camera and advertised it as able to record videos for the AVP. But no, it's just a glasses-free 3D screen, and it uses AI conversion. And of note is that it's compatible with major media apps, they said. So should be able to watch licensed content legitly in 3D in real time. I mean, I don't know who wants to watch that on their phone, but it's interesting. And it's also said they've partnered with Chinese platform Migu Video, I don't if that's how you pronounce it, for native 3D content, and I don't know what kind of content they have on that platform. And speaking of Leia, a few big changes. First of all, Leia Flix, this is one of their biggest selling points for the tablets especially. The licenses for the Hollywood movies ended. They had a lot of major 3D films available for rental, very affordably, of all genres. And sadly those licenses ended, so effective immediately that app was no longer functioning. Apparently renewing them wasn't an option. I don't know whose choice that was. Maybe the studios didn't want to do it. Maybe they're just focusing on Apple Vision Pro for now. That is really unfortunate because that was a big feature of the Loom pads. As for the Loom Pad 1, it was also announced that they're ending support for that. Now the Loom Pad 1, that's the tablet I use. The screen was nowhere good as the Loom Pad 2 and later tablets. It's still decent, especially if you got it at an affordable price later on. And it had a lot of games and apps that you could download for it that you couldn't get on later devices. And Leia announced that they would make available the final builds of many of the productivity apps. Some games on their page for you to download the APK files, which can be sideloaded and installed. So I'll provide the link to that if you want to download those from Leia's site. Just note that there's a misprint in the description of the camera app. They say that it records 4K video per eye. That is not accurate. It records 1080p video per eye. There's only one consumer camera that records 4K video per eye, and that hasn't even come out yet. That'll be coming out from Acer later this year. And finally, regarding Leia, Nima, who has been a fixture in the 3D community, put up with a lot of demanding customers over the years and responded with the utmost of tact and patience. He's worked a lot with Leia over the years, and now he's moving on to other things in his life, but he's still a 3D fan and still active in the community. So yeah, he announced that on X, and best wishes. So finally, you may notice a difference in sound. Well, first of all, before that, I'm recording with a different camera. This is the camera I've been using for years for multiple projects. I use this for most episodes of Variety Tech Today. I've used it for filming most of my movies, the Seasons series, New Hampshire Seasons, Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont. I'm currently working on Connecticut and Rhode Island. All filmed with this, which is 1080p, 24 frames a second, JVC GY-HM-Z1. The handle has XLR inputs. But anyway, I'm a firm believer in high frame rate, just as much as 3D pretty much. So I'm recording in a higher frame rate with the Sony HDR TD10. I've switched to higher spec uploads this season to be more inclusive of various formats, not restrict myself to a century-old standard that serves no practical purpose. But anyway, this camera had XLR inputs on the handle, and I have another microphone that I've been using for years. I used it for my initial documentary films that went along with the Season series. More recently, I switched to just recording with in-camera audio and then using AI to clean that up. But I still use the camera for Variety Tech Today, and you may notice that some episodes back there was a turning point where the audio suddenly got lower, less quality, and it actually broke partway through filming an episode, and one channel went completely dead. So it only had, I forget if it was the left stereo channel it only had, but so anyway, I switched to a backup that I also had for years, along with it. I just never used it. It was a backup mic, also XLR. However, this isn't phantom powered, which some XLR inputs are. The microphone itself has to be battery powered. And while this led to a lower volume sound recording, it could be boosted, which I did with the other microphone, but this one, boosting it just didn't work as well. There was more hiss, less detail. So in some episodes you'll notice I just recorded straight from in-camera audio. It was a little echoey, but at least it was clearer. And for some professional work for clients, I used 2D DSLRs with a wireless mic, but that couldn't fit on this one. This is where the 3.5mm jack is on the side that connects to this. And seeing as I don't really need 24 frames a second for the series anymore, I'm just using the more affordable but equal quality or better Sony HDR TD10, and that does have a open microphone port in the back that it can fit in. And I got the little wireless mic clip there. So that's our pipeline going forward. And another update from Variety Films. We just released Rescue from Gilligan's Island on 4K and standard Blu-ray. You can find this on varietyfilms.net. This comes with a slipcover, 2 discs. One disc is the standard Blu-ray, one disc is the 4K. What makes this unique is that all versions released prior to this, like literally all versions, were standard definition or lower videotape copies, or in many cases copies of copies, or copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. So anyway, I was able to get scanned a very rare 16mm print, and of course 16mm doesn't have full 4K detail, but analog film doesn't equate to pixels, so any analog elements will greatly benefit from being scanned in HD or 4K. So it's really the closest thing to watching the film reels itself. Especially if you're watching on a big screen, you'll notice the detail difference. So in keeping with that theme, so disc 1 is a standard Blu-ray with bonus material from the 4K scan, and disc 2, being 4K, is keeping with that theme of like you're watching the direct film, and this is not stock art. This is an actual image of reel 1 of the 3-reel set of this movie. But the bonus material on it, you'll get a 60th anniversary featurette with a broad overview of the franchise, including stuff you might not have known about. You'll get the Gilligan's Island, you'll get Rescue from Gilligan's Island Trivia Edition, which has loads of trivia throughout the movie. The cinematic trailer. There's a fun interview, extended visit with Gilligan's Island, the band. And for 3D fans, there is highlights in 3D. It's like a Viewmaster reel type highlights of images throughout the movie, both in anaglyph and for 3D TVs. So yeah, it's available now from varietyfilms.net. And as for Variety Tech Today, we've been having a running theme for years at this point. We're looking for the worst 3D camera. And we've reviewed lots of 3D cameras and camcorders with camera tests and everything, but there are more to go. Some are going to be great, some are going to be pretty bad, and we are aiming we're still working our way towards the worst one. We're going to get there. So I'll see you next time on Variety Tech Today.